The purpose of Wealth Talk is to educate, inform, and hopefully entertain you on the subject of building your wealth. Wealth Builders recommends you should always take independent financial, tax, or legal advice before making any decisions around your finances.
Welcome to episode 131 of Wealth Talk. My name is Christian Rodwell, Membership Director of Wealth Builders, and I'm joined today by our founder, Mr. Kevin Whelan. Hi, Kevin.
Hello, Chris. As always, great to be with you.
Yes, indeed, and great to be with another of our members this week. So it's our Spotlight on a Member. Every month we like to dive into the community and just shine a light on someone who's been doing fantastic work since joining the Wealth Builders Academy. And this month it's Claire Snedker.
Yeah, well, she's got a long history with you, Chris, from your early days pre-Wealth Builders.
Yes, no, we did touch on that at the beginning. She picked up a copy of my book, and if anyone else wants a copy of Sack Your Boss, it's available in our Wealth Builders free membership area. So do log in there, head to wealthbuilders.co.uk membership if you'd like a copy. But yeah, that's how we first connected. And Claire soon got gripped by the Wealth Talk podcast, as she mentions, and joined the Academy. And she's been going great guns ever since.
It's always good to kind of dive a little deeper into what people are doing, Chris. And it's nice to show, with no disrespect intended to any of our members, it's ordinary people starting to do extraordinary things, and always with a strength of purpose. And always you'll hear the word freedom wrapped up in their thinking. And you can, I think we'll hear some of the lessons that you tease out of Claire played out probably with every interview you do, Chris. There's again, like we did last week, listen out for those lessons, ladies and gentlemen. Try and see if you can pick out, as you listen to the interview with Claire, what the reason why was. What did she do to find funds? What did she do to build relationships? What did she do to build knowledge? What did she do to make distinctions? What are the things that she did, and what about that would be useful for and valuable for you just to take on board and go, well, that's interesting. What can I do about that? So the whole value in all of this is there a lesson in there, however small, for you? And as we say, you're only one relationship, opportunity, or idea. That's our first ROI, relationship, opportunity, or idea, from a complete transformation in your wealth. And Claire's going through a transformation, and for most people, so instead of a chrysalis turning into a butterfly, which is a very short space of time, we know that building wealth takes time. And you can't just pull up the roots to see how it's going. You've got to watch out. You've got to do the work and then see the results. And that does take time. And for most of our members, Chris, it's about a 5-year journey on average. And I think Claire is reflecting that.
She's certainly on track. So I think let's not hang around any longer. Let's head over to our conversation today with member Claire Snedker.
Claire, welcome to Wealth Talk today.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Oh,
exciting.
Yeah, it is very exciting. I believe this might be your first ever podcast, right?
This is my debut. I've made it. Made it in the world.
All right. Hopefully you're not trembling too much. It'll be a nice, easy conversation today. And it's really, really going to be a good one because, I remember we first met, actually, I think it was through Escape the Rat Race, right? My business. And did you grab even a copy of my book, perhaps?
Yes. You were the catalyst that started all this, Christian.
Oh, well, I'm very pleased. And then obviously you joined us over at Wealth Builders, and it's been a bit of a whirlwind ride, hasn't it, the last year and a half for you?
It really has. And I think, you don't quite realise, where it's going to take you. But the more I get through this journey, the more excited and confident I'm becoming, and absolutely loving it.
Good. Yeah. So we are going to follow a familiar format today with our member spotlights, and that's just really walking through the recurring revenue roadmap, which is our process, which we teach all of our members inside the Wealth Builders Academy to move from a place of financial insecurity to financial security and then on to independence. And we know on average, that's a journey that takes people around about 5 years or so, if they're committed, if they're focused, if they really stick to the process. So we're going to begin from step one. So the roadmap's broken down into 3 stages. We know stage 1 is all about building confidence, and then stage 2 is building knowledge, and stage 3 is building assets. So stage 1, building confidence, and then step 1 is all about the mindset, Claire. So let's begin with the reason why. Was there a particular catalyst for you, or a point which you can look back to and say, that was kind of the trigger? That was where I decided enough is enough. I've got to do something about this.
Yeah. I mean, I sort of reached a point in my life where I just felt a bit stuck, and I'd been feeling like that for a few years. And I think I felt stuck in my career. I didn't really know where the next challenge was coming from. And the challenge had gone in my job and sort of gone in life in general for me. And I remember feeling particularly fed up. I think it was around Christmas time with work. One year, picked up your book, Christian, Sack the Boss. Brilliant title. I was like, Sack the Boss, yes. And it was just such a great read, just to hear how things could be different. And actually there were other options out there. You didn't have to follow this, work till you flog yourself till you die kind of format. And then it was from your book that led me on to Wealth Builders. And then I started listening avidly to anything you guys put out, the weekly podcasts and any of the content that you and Kevin shared. And it didn't take me long to know that I really wanted to be part of Wealth Builders. And really what I was listening just blew my mind. I always hear, you don't know what you don't know. And that was just so true. I just didn't know so much. But I didn't really know that. So yes, yeah. So that's what led me here.
So you took that all important first step, and okay, so that leads us on to step 2 then, Claire, which is the foundation. So this is about getting crystal clear on how much asset income that you're generating currently in your life, and then how much you require in order to reach the next wealth level. So which of the 5 wealth levels were you at when you joined, Claire?
So when we joined, we were at financial insecurity, heavily reliant on job income, both myself and my husband, and had a tiny amount of asset income coming in from a buy-to-let, but not a lot. So now, after I joined about a year and a half ago, we've reached about £1,600-1,700 a month recurring income now. And we're looking towards 2022 hitting our financial security number of sort of £3,000. And we're well on track for that, and we just can feel really the momentum picking up pace as we go along. That's great progress.
So kind of halfway to security in 18 months or so. So really good. And then another aspect of the foundation is a review of what we call the debits process. So just looking at all the outgoings in your life and following that process. So is that something that you and your husband went through? Did you have any observations, any savings there?
Yeah, I think, I'd always been pretty good at tracking what we were spending, and my husband not so much. so it was good for us to sit together, and I was like, what are you paying for? What's that? Get rid of it. But it was really nice. We sat together and actually we looked at, what can we cut out that at the moment, is not going to get us to our goal. And we managed actually to cut out quite a lot, and we've managed to have quite a high savings rate because of that. Managed to put in quite a bit away a month. Good.
And then, the key is then obviously reallocating those savings into other wealth building activities. Yeah.
Yes. And that's what I never knew. I was always good at saving money, but I didn't then know what to do with it. So this is where Wealth Builders is just invaluable.
Great. Yeah. So the final step in stage 1 is the roof. And this is all about protecting you and your assets and your family. So were you able to review the elements of the roof, Claire? And did you have all of the necessary protection in place?
I'm very embarrassed to say that we had nothing in place. So I had on a to-do list will for about 5 years, and I've never got round to it yet. So now I'm really thankful to say that we've got a will in place with sort of lasting and power of attorney. So if anything, happens to us, we've got all our affairs taken, people that help us. And we had no life insurance. We had no critical illness cover. When I think back, I was like, oh my gosh, But I guess I didn't really know about this stuff either. So we've educated ourselves about why it's so important to have this in place and to protect all your assets as you're building them.
Yeah. And how does that make you feel now that you've got that in place?
Oh, amazing. Yeah, amazing. And just, it's them things that keep you up at night sometimes. You're like, oh, I must do that will, but actually, where do I start? Who do I go to? What does it actually even mean? It's just such a nice feeling to feel, that's all done. Yeah.
So that's the importance of stage one. And sometimes, we speak to people, Claire, and they perhaps already feel like they're progressing quite well on their journey. And they say, oh, well, I think, foundation, I've kind of covered all that stuff, right? But there's a lot in there. And actually, most likely there are a few little things, important things, which just need to be double checked and made sure that they are done. And that gives you the peace of mind to then go on and start building your knowledge and building your assets, which is where we're moving into now. So stage 2 is all about building knowledge. And step 4 is the 7 pillars of wealth. We call it the assets there. So the 7 different pillars, as you well know, Claire, which did you already have some experience with when you first joined Wealth Builders? And what other pillars have you been able to utilize since?
So when I first joined, we had just bought a buy-to-let. So we'd been left some inheritance money. Unfortunately, my husband's father passed away. And we really wanted to use that money towards starting to create a different life for ourselves and not just fritter it away, really. So we had a little bit of knowledge on property, but that was it, to be honest. So I went on a bit of a journey finding out about property. And before Wealth Builders, I guess I didn't really know where to turn for education as well. So when I joined the Wealth Builders, sort of a few months after, I did Bronwyn Verncombe's. She's got a property course which teaches you a bit about all the different strategies, which was amazing. You hear all these names flying around. So I did that. It was amazing. And I also did Ian Halfpenny's Buy Refurb Refinance course. And for a relatively small amount of money, you can learn just so much. So since joining, we've done property, we've done home capacity, joint venture, and pension. So we've ticked off, and property. So I think that's 5 we're at.
Good.
No, 4, I think. 4.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good. One of anything is risky, as we say. So a lot of people, reliant on one source of income. That's often just from a job, and we know that could disappear tomorrow. But then some people just build their wealth in one pillar as well, and that can be risky as well. So diversifying across as many pillars as possible, again, just gives you that financial stability, that peace of mind, no matter what's happening out there in the economy. So okay, good stuff. 4 assets, and then step 5 is leverage. So leverage is the key to wealth building and isn't necessarily always financial, but it could be intellectual leverage, relationship leverage, system leverage, and time leverage. So can you provide us with an example of how you've brought leverage into play to help you build your wealth?
Yeah, I think one of the key things actually with our joint venture, and I sort of gained a lot of confidence from the wealth building community, was to go out and I had the finances but didn't have the knowledge of the holiday let industry. So my joint venture partner runs holiday lets, so I've sort of leveraged his knowledge of the holiday let, and he runs it, and he's teaching me a lot about that side of things. And, in turn, I've been able to provide some finances to fund the project or part of the project. I think my favourite thing about the Wealth Builders is the community, and everyone's working towards a better life and future for themselves. But we all do get stuck. We get frustrated. We need help. we've got a SSAS focus group, which is a SSAS holiday let focus group. And it's full of people, all different stages of their journey. And you just come away feeling so inspired by, the different levels people are at. And also actually one other thing that happened recently is I connected with a new wealth builder in the community. She wanted to know, and her sister wanted to know more about holiday lets. So I was like, yes, I know that. And she was like, I'm doing HMOs. I was like, I don't know anything about that. So we're going to do a bit of a knowledge swap. And we're actually meeting up in a couple of weeks' time. We're doing a Wealth Builders face-to-face meet in East London. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, well, I think there might be more than just a couple of you there. I can see the momentum building for that one in our Facebook group. So now that's really cool. And you mentioned your joint venture partner there. How did you go about finding them?
So they were a part of Simon Zucci's mastermind group, which I'd sort of learned about Simon Zucci, obviously extremely knowledgeable about property. So I'd sort of read a couple of his books and then again sort of led on to the PIN community. And found the guy is called Phil Saunders. He won't mind me mentioning him, I know. And he was actually doing some holiday lets and actually renting out some glamping space, and he's got a lot of yurts. I was like, that just sounds so cool. And it probably took about a year, to be honest, to go from our first conversation to buying, this property together. But before Wealth Builders, I just wouldn't have had the confidence to even approach somebody like that. I just literally sent him a message going, I really like what you're doing. Let's chat. And then we went and we met his wife and his family, and we stayed in the holiday let that we've now got together. So that's been an amazing relationship as well.
Excellent. Yeah, that's really, really good. Okay, moving on to step 6 then. So Step 6 is strategy. So we know there's many, many strategies out there within each of the pillars. And this is where overwhelm can kick in for people because they just don't know where to begin. So what's been your primary wealth building strategy, Claire? And what other strategies are you also looking at?
So we started off with our in property with our buy-to-lets, sort of that's our little foundation. Then we did learn about sort of buy, refurb, refinance. So we've done a couple of those, and now we're really looking to the holiday lets. We've done one. I'm currently in talks with some other members in the Wealth Builders community about doing another joint venture with them. They also look after holiday lets. So that'll be our next deal, I think, which we're really excited about as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So what kind of length of stays are you doing on the holiday lets?
They are typically long weekends or weeks. The one we've got, it's in the Peak District. Sleeps 8. So it's lovely all year round because you've got the beautiful walks and hikes.
Good. Yeah. And are you managing those yourself, or do you have someone to help?
So this is where the sort of leverage walk comes in again, is that, I'm in London. He actually lives in the Peak District, so he can pop into the house and he actually runs it all. But we catch up probably once a day. I was like, what are we doing about Christmas decorations?
So there's a good lesson there. Anyone living in London saying, it's too expensive down here, I can't buy anything. Yes. There are other places available in the UK.
100%. Yes, completely agree. Actually, all my properties, I have to say as well, are all, they're not in London. Not saying that you can't find anything in London, but they're all around the north.
Okay, good stuff. So that completes stage 2. So now we're moving into stage 3. This is all about building assets. And this is really ongoing, really working the plan and just staying the course. We were chatting earlier that, people just kind of give up too easy sometimes. And, wealth building isn't easy. It is hard work and it does take time and you've got to stick with it. And I've said before, success is a lagging indicator. You have to put the hard work in. You don't necessarily see the results immediately, but they do come. So step seven is focus, Claire. So once someone has chosen a strategy like you did, the key is to follow the wheel of wealth. And that means education, support, connections, due diligence, and then taking guided action. And this is where our wealth coaches are there each month to help you stay laser focused and turn that wheel. So what benefits have you gained from following this process, Claire, and having that accountability from your coach?
The wealth coach is just amazing. I think at the start, and I don't know if everyone's like this, but you go off in all these different directions, down all these rabbit holes. I remember a lot emailing you, I want to start a course, I want to write a book, I want to launch this, launch that. You sort of get all these ideas and then you get overwhelmed. Well, I did anyway. And the wealth coaches, so I have Chris Henry at the moment, he's been really amazing, just helping me to be laser focused on what we're currently doing at the moment. And I've really just niched everything down. And since then, you just have so much clarity and I'm moving so much quicker. And they have just such a vast wealth of knowledge and tools at their disposal that I find if I'm feeling a bit stuck or nothing's really moved after a session with them, I sort of feel I'm on my way again and I've got the motivation back and yeah, yay for the wealth coaches. I love them.
Yeah. Well, I think the key word I'll pick up on there, Claire, is clarity. Because I think when you don't really know what you're doing, like, you're uncertain, that's when you don't do anything. And that's when people can drift, right? And then when you get clear, and you're confident that you know exactly what you need to do, just small steps, but you're clear on what those small steps are. And that's what the coach is there to help you with. Every month, just consistently taking small steps forwards. And you look back where you are now, 18 months, and you go, wow, I've come a long way.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just challenging sometimes, you get certain things in your mind and they challenge you, in a nice way to just reframe things, think differently, try something different. And before you know it, you're off again. So
good.
Brilliant.
All right. So as we said, that momentum is definitely building now. So step 8 is results. So we encourage all of our members to track their progress every 30 days. And we send you out a wealth chart when you join and stick that up on your wall. I think, was it your son that I remember you posted a picture in the Facebook group?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're regularly talking to them about property as well and holiday lets, and they love listening to it all.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was so nice to see that picture. And then from those progress reports, we track the progress, right? And you've had a good month recently, Claire. So what did you do, and how much additional recurring income has that added to your wealth thermometer?
Yes, so we recently added the holiday let to our portfolio, and that's added a sort of conservative £600 a month at the moment. The basement that we've got at the property needs a little refurb, and so we're going to turn that into a games room. So I think once that's done, probably looking about more like 800 to 1,000 a month. So I love the fact as well with the holiday let that I sort of feel it is a mini business, and you can go, oh, do you know what? What can we do to add more value to it, and how can we promote it more, drive more people in? Very excited about that one.
Excellent. And as we said at the beginning, halfway now towards security.
Yes.
And feeling confident that, you're going to hit that.
Yeah, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that we will hit it. It just, for me, it's a certainty. It's just a matter of time. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great to hear. And we hear, that's what we hear so often from members. Okay, final step then, accelerate. So by repeating the process of choosing your pillar, then your strategy, and working out what your points of leverage are, then you will move towards a place of financial independence. And for most people, that journey from insecurity to financial independence takes about 5 years, as we mentioned. So what do you see as being key to helping you continue to stay focused and take the necessary steps to reach that financial goal?
Yeah, I think a key will be to make sure we still do our monthly wealth coaching calls. So I think the coaching calls are so important just to keep us focused still and hold us accountable, keep us on track. And also recently we had one with Chris, and he's like, oh, I think you should do a 90-day plan for a project we're going to be working on. I was like, oh, that's a great idea. So I think, again, having a big visual 90-day plan to get us to the next stage of what we're trying to work on at the moment. Also connecting with other wealth builders, finding out how they're getting on. And just sharing with other wealth builders and keeping that motivation and inspiration going. And also a massive important one, to celebrate the wins, which sometimes I'm not very good at. I'm a bit like, keep going. But, I think celebrate those wins and reminding ourselves why we're doing it. We want a different life. We want complete freedom. That'll
very important. And
yes.
And at some point you might be sacking your boss.
Yes. I've started a new job, so maybe hope he's not listening.
Let's hope they're not listening. All right.
No, but that is the ultimate goal. Complete freedom for us as a family, is to do what we want, in life. So
no doubt that you will soon be achieving that, Claire. So well done on all everything that you've done so far. Thanks for being a great member of the community, and thanks for sharing with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thank you.
Well, congratulations to Claire there for making some really, really good progress. And we'll look forward to debriefing that in a second, Kevin. Before we do that, let's read out one of our latest reviews from Trustpilot. And this week it's from Sam. Sam is saying, forever grateful for the advice. I've known Kevin for a number of years after first seeing him present at a property event. And I must admit, I was quite sceptical to start off, as I had some bad advice in the past. Kevin provided me with some key bits of information during a couple of phone calls regarding a SSAS in relation to my father's pension, which resulted in us taking control of that pension and ultimately his retirement, which I will be forever grateful for. He now has a virtually perpetual income and an asset that is growing in value every year. And I'm an avid listener to the Wealth Builders podcast, and I find it very inspirational and full of useful knowledge and advice, as well as interviews with people that have successfully put strategies in place to improve their financial position and their lives. And I'm also a member of the online community, as well as the Facebook group, which again is full of great content to support people looking to grow their wealth and reclaim their time. Many thanks to Kevin and Christian for all their hard work.
Wow, that was an essay.
A nice one. Thanks.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, I know I'm joking, but when somebody takes the time to craft a few words, and in this case, many words, all carefully chosen, all with sincerity, you've got to be very grateful and humbled, actually. And then it was very interesting because we met Sam, didn't we, at the networking event we had in Surrey just recently, and it was lovely to say hello to him face to face, and that obviously sprung to mind again his relationship with us, and we're so glad that we've got very nice people like Sam and so many others in our community. And I want to pick up on that community thing straight away, Chris, because that came out loud and clear from Claire, didn't it? That so many different ways she's tapped into the community of the coaches, the community of education, the community of joint ventures, the community of networking, a real live community. She's tapped in a major way into all of the ways that we're trying to make the wealth building journey, not a DIY journey, but a dynamic journey, a dynamo where two things get together and you create more light and heat and power. And I think that's what a good community does, is makes the whole process faster, safer, and more enjoyable. And that's why I'm so pleased that she pulled all those things out. I'm not getting ahead of ourselves on the lessons, Chris, but that was, for me, the very powerful one, and also picked up from the very nice words that Sam shared with us as well.
Yeah. Well, I remember Claire saying, you don't know what you don't know. And at the beginning, she was, feeling stuck in her career. And we know that that's a common place for people to be. And they kind of hit that crossroads and think, well, do I just continue down this same path for the next 20 years or so? Or do I actually take some action now and do something about it? And that's exactly what Claire has done. And she obviously joined the program. She referred to her husband there. And I thought it was interesting, actually, when she was talking about the debits process, that she reviewed that with her husband. And, sometimes you might live with someone for a long time and you have actually quite different spending habits. And, sitting down and actually reviewing those things together might bring some surprises. And, those could be good or bad.
Well, they're always good in the end because, when two people with different wealth dynamics, and we always provide wealth dynamic tokens for a family, so husband and wife in this case. And when you discover the difference in thinking, sometimes it can become curative. You look at it and go, now I see why we think differently. So instead of it leading into a confrontation, it can lead into a collaboration where you recognize that the other person is bringing a different perspective to you in the same way as if, the easiest way to look at wealth dynamics and the perspective is to imagine you were in a in a lighthouse and, you were looking at, let's say, imagine it was, there were 4 different windows, one looking north, one south, one east, one west. And if you were perched just looking in that one direction, you're only going to see that one direction. And this is what wealth dynamics is all about. That if you combine somebody else's dynamic with somebody else's dynamic with somebody else's dynamic, you get a 360 view of the world. And that gives you greater clarity. And I think when you can do the debits, which is a very, very useful exercise. I know it's right at the foundation. And I know you mentioned, Chris, that sometimes people kind of think they know it. But I think everybody who's ever done the debits exercise of debt, education, bills, insurance, tax, and support costs, and I'll touch on support costs because I think, there's a big one that I want to focus on in 2022 on that. But there's a whole raft of things that people can save. And one of the things I want to mention, I've said it many times, I think, is we don't encourage people to save their way to wealth. That's not the point. We don't restrict our way to wealth. We increase our capacity. We widen our ability to add value. So we expand our way to wealth. We don't contract. And but of course, it makes sense if you can find money that's just languishing because you haven't been paying attention, and you can plant a seed and make that money work. Then it gives you an instant kickstart, like a booster almost, to your wealth plan. And we encourage everybody to do that. And certainly one of the big ones I'm going to be focused on Chris, in 2022, which gets a very poor hearing, which is the S for support costs. And what I mean by that, for the most part, is almost everybody we meet as we help people on their wealth journey have got money in the stock market somewhere. And maybe I'll change it from support cost to stock market, Chris. Maybe that might be an interesting change as the program continues to evolve. Because stock market fees, the benefit now of technology is that it costs so little to manage money. But historically, those costs have not been passed on. The institution of financial services is not passing on those costs with intention. They're kind of hanging on to old costs. And I would like everybody who's connected to us to be reviewing those stock market fees in 2022, because, it wasn't that long ago, Chris, we talked on this podcast and we saved someone £15,000 a year. So, whatever that is, $20,000, £15,000 in fees, in stock market costs. And I think we want to drive that message home in 2022.
And picking up on another thing that Claire mentioned at the beginning there, she said about overwhelm, just wanting to do so many different things. And again, that can cause people to just not do anything. And you have to focus and you need to turn the wheel. And the first step of the wheel is always to get some education. And that could be free education. Maybe you can learn enough from books and podcasts and webinars, or sometimes it could be paid education. And Claire chose to take some education actually with a couple of our wealth coaches. So she mentioned Bronwyn Verncombe and Ian Halfpenny. And that gave her a broad overview of a lot of different property strategies. And from there, she was able to niche down and choose, obviously, buy-to-let and BRR and holiday lets as the areas she wanted to focus on.
Yeah, and I think she said herself, didn't cost a lot of money to get a wealth of knowledge. And further, if you dive into that interview a bit more, Chris, you'll hear her say she swapped knowledge. Do you remember? So she was doing, excuse me, she was doing something on the holiday lets that she gained some knowledge, and she was talking to somebody else who had knowledge in a different area of HMOs, I think, if I recall. So you can obviously get together in a trusted environment. And what people don't discover, I think, unless they join a community, is how helpful and how open the community is. I think sometimes employed people get a bit of a shock, don't they? They think, hang on a minute, why are people sharing when there's nothing in it for them? Well, what's in it for them is shared values. Everybody's on a journey to create freedom for themselves, and they absolutely delighted and thrilled to share in the successes of others and to help anybody else on that journey. And that's the very community that I'm proud to say we've curated and nurtured over the last few years.
Yeah, and obviously as part of community that can lead to joint ventures, and we've seen that many times from our members. And just to pick up on, how long that can take, because joint ventures is all about relationships. And Claire mentioned, it took about a year to build that relationship with Phil. And she ended up, going up, visiting, meeting the family, staying there. And, that's something we teach as well in the program, is how to approach joint ventures correctly.
Yeah, it's really important to do that. And it's usually about mapping out expectations, and that can take time. And you need to take time, to establish resonance, and you need to take time to do due diligence, not just on the people, but also the individual project, and of course the legals and the paperwork. And we teach that in Wealth Builders, the people, the project, and the paperwork. But it's also interesting that you mentioned, Chris, as you often do, that wealth building has a lagging indicator. You have to wait and see. You can't put a result on those relationships. You can't hurry up relationships. You've got to build the relationships. And sometimes you will start a relationship, and for whatever reason, the relationship doesn't work. It's not quite the right thing for you, or the strategy might not be the right thing for you. And which is why, if you can learn these lessons quickly, you can move on to change your strategy, to look at another pillar or look at another strategy within the same pillar, and accelerate that, and again make it quicker, safer, and more enjoyable. And this is the whole essence, that you're not on a DIY journey of discovering lessons on your own, which can take many, many years. We're talking about 5 years. And for most people, they work, well, as Warren Buffett would say, if you don't find a way to create recurring income, you're going to work till you die. Well, it doesn't take longer than 5 years to find streams of recurring income. So why not work and enjoy the journey of trying to do that within a community than so many people who try and cut corners and do everything on the cheap and the DIY? The DIY people frustrate the heck out of me, because you can get there in 5 years instead of 10 years, and you can get there and enjoy it. And as you said, as Claire said, it didn't cost a lot to get the right knowledge. And what does it cost in our community, to be a member? A few £100 a month. That's it. Pay that for a few years, and then you're financially free for the rest of your life. I don't know why people fight this. It's a really big secret that we're trying to get out, Chris. And I know it sounds a bit self-serving, but it isn't. Because we obsess about giving away free information as well. You don't have to pay for everything. You can get free information, but it doesn't cost much to join a community wherever you find that community, whether it's within Wealth Builders or outside of Wealth Builders. Find yourself a community. You'll get the different distinctions from the different wealth dynamics, and it will give you a place to have conversations and start to build at least the thought of joint ventures.
Yeah, and important point to end on perhaps is not forgetting to celebrate the wins. And actually on our wealth plans, which all of our members have their own wealth plan each month, which they fill out, work towards, and debrief with their coach. The last question on there is, what's been your big win for the month? And Claire said, ultimately it's about complete freedom for her and her family. And touching on the family aspect there, she mentioned sharing those lessons with her children as well. And of course, we're passionate about that too. And hence, we are putting together the Wealth Builders for Families program, which will be coming out very early in 2022.
Yes, and please, if you're as passionate as we are about helping the next generation to build the right habits and the right knowledge and the right environment to become financially responsible adults in the future. So few children are taught this. We know that schools don't do it. Most parents don't do it. It's massively, massively neglected in society. If you feel passionate about this, either you've got a story to tell about what you're doing with your children, whatever age they are, or you want to get involved and help spread the word, or you've got something you want to do to participate in helping get the message out, or there's something you want to share with us, what's the best way people could do that, Chris?
Yeah, I'm going to share 2 URLs. One is for anyone interested in just being kept up to date on the families. So that's wealthbuilders.co.uk/families, FAMILIES. And if you'd like to find out a bit more about the Academy, which we've been talking about today, then just head to wealthbuilders.co.uk/academy.
Very good. And Chris, that one other thing, just while we're reaching out to the listenership, is we do like to have the members spotlight every month. Do let us know if you enjoy that. It's individual people who are on the journey as opposed to snippets what we give during the course of the month of other people with a specific skill set. But one of the things I think we would like to do for next year is maybe be a little more interactive and maybe have a members question session. So if you've got a question, you're not quite ready for joining us in the Academy, you're not quite ready to join the community, but you have a question, then reach out to us and ask that question, and then we'll get a chance to do so. We'll air it on the podcast and share that answer to the question for you and for other people who would also benefit. Because the good thing about asking questions is somebody else is thinking the same question. And when you hear an answer to a question, sometimes it can stimulate you to do something else and just nudge you in a different direction. And we know that the wealth building journey is very transformative. And it just made me laugh, Chris. I was talking to Richiko, who's our community support manager, and we were chatting, weren't we, at that big networking event. We had 300 people or so last week, and I was chatting to her about her property journey, and she was saying, the properties that she has now are being filled by contractors who are building wind farms in the North Sea. And I said, well, that's incredible, isn't it? That your properties are fully occupied, often by 3 months, 6 months, or even 12 months lets, by big businesses who are putting their contractors in nice properties rather than putting them up in hotels. And she said, you know what, Kevin, I would never have thought, that was not my strategy. When I started to discover property as a strategy, and then, the service accommodation as a strategy within the property pillar, I didn't know that. It was only going on the journey with other people that helped me discover that. And this is the other thing I want to say about wealth building. It's a journey of transformation, and you have to be prepared to go on it. And what most people do, I think, because still only 5% make it, Chris, despite our efforts to help the 50,000 people we want to help, is people don't get on the journey at all. They want the journey to be mapped out. And the joy of wealth building is it's not mapped out. It's to discover things for yourself that you didn't know. And 18 months later, with Richiko doing something completely different she'd never even heard of 18 months ago, if she hadn't started the journey, she wouldn't be where she is now. And I encourage you, please start the journey of building wealth. Get started, don't get perfect.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for that, Kevin. And thank you for listening today. We hope you enjoyed that. As Kevin says, do reach out, let us know, drop us a message through Facebook, the Wealth Builders group, free membership, hello at Wealth Builders, all the usual places online. Or if you've really been an avid listener, as Sam said he is, then why not drop us a review on Trustpilot and let us know. So we'll be here same time, same place, Kevin, next week.
Yes, until then, my friend, I will see you.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget that we are constantly updating our resources inside the Wealth Builders membership site to help you create, build and protect your wealth. Head over to wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership right now for free access. That's wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership.